What's happening, dudes? I'm back again. Now, in the first video, you saw me pop out the nut. It wasn't that hard to do, but it was kind of a little bit of a bitch. It was locked in there pretty good. And also, they kind of put it in here where it's channeled, kind of like a telly style nut would be on the neck. They did the same thing with this, so it's not just a flat surface. And they butted up the laminate or whatever that this cover is that they put on top of the headstock. They butted it right up against it. So it's kind of a little bit of a pain in the ass to get off. Got it off without damaging or scratching or doing anything to the headstock or, even the body or anything of the guitar. Like I said, trimming it out or scarring the lacquer around the nut, which was a lot of lacquer on the stock nut of this thing, helped out without chipping or causing any problems whatsoever with the actual removing of the nut. Now, you guys kind of argued a little bit. Some of you guys questioned why I changed out the stock Gibson Deluxe tuners. Well, I did a lot of research before I bought this guitar online, the pros, the cons, the problems, and everything else. And a lot of people were saying that they had problems with the Gibson Deluxe tuners, either the problems with turning them, or problems with just problems in general. And it seemed like it was one or two strings that were doing this on these tuners. And I figured, you know what? Why don't I just fucking replace it before I start having the problem? So that's what I did. So I got the Grover 14:1 ratio deluxe tuners on here. And didn't have to do any modification, did not have to change or drill or do anything as far as replacing, just an easy swap out. And I'll save these stock tuners in case, if I ever sell this guitar or ever, whatever, get rid of it, the stock tuners can go with it. Now, the nut. Some of you guys were saying that the nut is a Tusk self-lubricating nut that comes stock on this guitar. Okay, fine. Now, you don't see what I'm seeing as far as this nut goes, all right? Now, number one, I was always taught or told, and after seeing a lot of your guys' videos and everything else, when you're working on a nut for a guitar, you kind of want to slope that slot towards the peg head, tuning head, right? Isn't that what is supposed to be done or how it's supposed to be done? This is not. Okay, now I'm sure it could have been an easy fix for me to do this. I have the tools to do it, so it's not really that much of a big problem. These are just straight across. They're not angled at all. Also, if this is supposed to be a self-lubricating nut, why is there like pencil lead in the slots? And I don't know if you could see that or not, the black inside of the slots. When I removed the strings off the guitar, it was packed in there, but there was a little bit of a black powder underneath the string. Now, if that's supposed to be a self-lubricating nut and this was supposed to be set up by Gibson properly, that wouldn't be there, would it? Now, another thing is when you look at, now this is a Tusk Gibson nut, okay? And there is some fine tuning that you're going to have to do when you put this nut on here. Like, it hangs over the edge just a little bit, so you're going to have to fine tune each side of the nut to fit that. I'm sure you're going to have to do a little bit work on the saddles or the seats where the strings go as well. Plus, you're going to have to set it up for the string height at the first fret. Now, you look at this nut, it's got a nice slope. It's all rounded off really nice going towards the keys. All right. They cut this son of a bitch pretty much flat. All right, I don't know if you can see the top of that nut or not. It has a little bit of, looks like it's a little bit rounded, but if I stick this down on top of the counter, there is like hardly any rocking back and forth. Plus the top of this nut, you could see, number one, you could feel, number two, the file marks that they used to shape the top of this nut the way they did. And it's pretty sharp, okay? It's got a pretty sharp edge on it going across the back of it. And, of course, you want to have a nice edge on the front of it for the strings, for the exit of the string. But, yeah, I don't think that's... Number one, it looks like shit. It looks like a kid did this, all right, number one. Also, the finish, the lacquer that was on here. Now, I peeled off. Now, Zip, you were right about that. This is a piece of the lacquer that was on the back of this nut. Now, this whole nut had lacquer all over it. All right, so I don't know if they just masked off around the nut and then lacquered around it and everything. There's lacquer on the sides. You can even see some of the color when they sprayed it. So the nut was on the guitar when they actually put color on this thing. Looks like shit. Okay, what can I say? It looks like shit. It looks like a kid did this. All right. So that's the reason why I ended up replacing the nut on this. Instead of working with what's there and probably trying to fix and then maybe ruining a nut and I'm going to have to replace it anyways, just get another one started from scratch. Simpler, cleaner, this one's pretty clean, real nice, fits really good. Had to do a little bit of sanding. There was a little bit of a tab on the bottom over here, probably from the mold when they made this. And yeah, cleaned the seat out and there's no rocking back and forth. It sits in there pretty good. So that's the reason why I did what I did. And some of you guys may disagree with it and some of you guys may say, rock on. But instead of having the problem or causing a problem or having a problem later on, fix it now, you won't have a problem at all. So what I want to do now is I want to kind of like clean up these frets a little bit. They look a little tarnished. Plus there's some scratching, some scratch marks over here that I've noticed. So I don't know if that was from when they were working on the nut and they hit the fret a little bit and tried to fix that or what. But yeah, Gibson. This is from Gibson. This is something that Gibson did, not something that anybody else did. So yeah, you pay $2,000 for a guitar, and that's kind of the quality that you get. Also notice too, if you look at the cover for the truss rod, it's also a little bit crooked. It's off to one side a little bit more than the other. You can tell that by looking at the bottom over here, and you can also see it between the two peg heads. So yeah, that's quality control from Gibson. That's what they do, and that's how they do it. Now, as far as the cover goes over the truss rod, the SG is the same way. They did not square up or put the truss rod cover evenly over the truss rod. So, yeah. And I've noticed that Epiphone actually is a lot fucking better at doing that than that fucking Gibson is. So, anyways, that's about it. So I'm going to start working over here and getting this thing put together. One of you guys sent me a link to, I think it was George who sent me a link to a video about how to pop this nut off. Pretty simple, man. I just scarred it, popped it a little bit, and pulled it right out, like as you saw in my first video. It was a tight fit, that's for sure. But this one here, I didn't make it as tight, so it's got a little bit of room. It still fits in kind of snug, but not the way the old one was. So I want to continue fixing this on the sides, get this even. What I'm doing is basically got the piece of sandpaper in front of me. I'll count 5 times going back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Turn it around. Count 5 times going back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that's basically giving me the equal amount of material being removed on each side. Fit it. Kind of feel my way around, line it up center, and then feel my way around. If I still feel a lip on there, the edges, then I go back and sand it a little bit more. Using this equal amount of pressure, doing it on both, sanding on both sides, but making sure I count the same amount of strokes on each side. This way I'm removing about the same amount of material on each side, so I'm not going to throw this thing off in any way. A lot of people would do it while it's on the guitar and file it and stuff. I don't want to do that because I don't want to mess up this finish on here. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching this video. A little bit of explanation and, showing what I'm doing. Hope you enjoyed. Take care. Have a good one and behave yourselves.